Hey everybody, it's just me making another video. Thought I'd bring you a new video today. Just got home early from work because I had an injury at work, but I'll be fine. Anyhow, this is gonna be a quick video. This is gonna be a video talking about the change, about the WWE changing their the pay-per-view for September, Unforgiven, and then I'm just gonna give you my favorite Unforgiven pay-per-views of all time, or my favorite Unforgiven moments, or whatever. So let's start with this. Let's start with this video. WWE changed another pay-per-view. As you just heard, if you heard recently, they changed their pay-per-view to Breaking Point, as they did with their last pay. They made a change to their first pay-per-view, and in this pay-per-view change they made this time with Unforgiven, which will be September's pay-per-view. And my opinion is, I don't know why the WWE did this, because when they first started to make their first pay-per-view change, which is for the next pay-per-view, which I believe is this Sunday or next Sunday, which is Extreme Rules, which was supposed to be One Night Stand, really didn't have a problem with it, because there was sort of like a sexual theme with that. When you make a pay-per-view like called One Night Stand, it kind of gives the wrong impression. With the WWE's PG kind of rating, kind of gives a wrong impression about it being a one night stand kind of thing. So I understand why WWE went to change that pay-per-view to Extreme Rules, but what I don't understand is why they changed Unforgiven, a pay-per-view that has been so synonymous with the WWE, going all the way back to when the pay-per-view first started back in 1998, going all the way to last year. I don't know why the WWE would change that pay-per-view to a pay-per-view called Breaking Point, which to me sounds like some sort of a movie name more than a pay-per-view name. But I guess that's the WWE. They wanted to, I guess, change the pay-per-view up, and the thing that makes this pay-per-view that makes no sense at this pay-per-view at all is the fact that every match on this pay-per-view is going to be contested in submission matches. So really every wrestler that wrestles in a match on this pay-per-view is going to have to use submission moves to beat their opponent. And the thing about this is, most of the wrestlers in the WWE are not known for submission holds. I mean, guys like MVP and guys like Matt Hardy, they're not known for being more of a submission type wrestler. These are guys that are known for being brawlers and being known for like hardcore type of wrestlers. Even wrestlers like Kane and even the new wrestlers like Kofi Kingston, they're not known for doing submission type wrestling holds. But the WWE is gonna go through with this, and we're gonna get this. We're gonna get a new pay-per-view change, and we're also gonna get rules stipulated in this pay-per-view, which I still just don't like the idea. But I guess WWE is gonna go with it, and I guess it's to make something new and to be something different, sort of, and to kind of be like WWE Extreme Rules, I guess, to be sort of like that, but with submission moves. But yeah, I don't like the whole idea of the pay-per-view change. I don't like the whole idea of the stipulation changes. I just feel that the WWE should have just stuck with the Unforgiven pay-per-view, as this is just a traditional pay-per-view that happens every year, like a Survivor Series or a WrestleMania or SummerSlam. They should have just a pay-per-view that just sticks out with all those other wrestling pay-per-views. It might be sort of a throwaway pay-per-view, but it's still like sort of a traditional type of pay-per-view, and I just don't know why the WWE just dropped that to go with another pay-per-view name and to add stipulations to this as well. But yeah, it's just my opinion about that. So I'm just gonna give you my favorite Unforgiven pay-per-views. As like I said, Unforgiven's gonna be no more, and you're gonna get a new pay-per-view name. So I'm just gonna give you my top my top 6 Unforgiven pay-per-views. We start off with number 6, which is Unforgiven 1998. This is a pay-per-view that wasn't really as a note of any type of good matches on there. There was only 3 matches to me that stuck out on this pay-per-view. That was the underrated Owen Hart versus Triple H matchup, a rematch from WrestleMania 14, which was really a good matchup. And this time the stipulation was Chyna being suspended in the cage to keep her from interfering, but it didn't hold her, as she did play played a little bit of a factor in this matchup, and then X-Pac played more of a factor into this matchup, which led to Triple H getting the victory. But still, this was a good matchup, and a matchup that most people really don't tend to talk about, and I thought this was a little bit better than their WrestleMania 14 matchup. Another matchup on here was Dude Love versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, a matchup that ended in DQ, but it was still a really good matchup because you had Dude Love, who was Mick Foley, who always brought it in the ring, and Steve Austin was having some good matches in 1998, and this matchup was a setup to a rematch at the next pay-per-view, which Steve Austin will retain his title and beat Dude Love. Then, of course, you had the Kane versus the Undertaker Inferno matchup. Really a match that was good, but not as good as the WrestleMania 14 matchup, but it was still a good matchup for what it was, and I really enjoyed this matchup. Number 5, Unforgiven 2000. This was a pay-per-view also that wasn't as known of good matches. Only a couple good matches stuck out to me on this pay-per-view was Chris Jericho versus X-Pac in a really good underrated matchup. These two showed that they had really good chemistry, and it showed in this matchup. You had the Hardys against Edge and Christian in a steel cage matchup. Really good matchup. Really enjoyed this matchup, but it wasn't as good as the previous matchups between these two, but it was still a good matchup. You had Triple H versus Kurt Angle, with Mick Foley as a special guest referee. A good matchup, and it just led to the angle between Kurt Angle and Stephanie played a good part in this matchup, and really enjoyed it. Also, you had a fatal 4-way between The Rock, Chris Benoit, Undertaker, and Kane. Very good matchup, and was entertained and enjoyed this matchup a lot. Then you had Unforgiven 2003. Only a couple matches stuck out to me in this pay-per-view. It was Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels, good matchup. Kane versus Shane McMahon in a stretcher matchup, good for what it was. Christian versus RVD versus Chris Jericho, probably one of the matches of the night on that pay-per-view. And then Bill Goldberg versus Triple H, which was good for what it was. I mean, didn't expect a whole lot, but it was better than what I thought it was. Then, of course, you had Chris Benoit. You had Unforgiven 2004. You had a tag team title matchup with Chris Benoit and William Regal versus Batista and Ric Flair. That was a good matchup. Trish Stratus versus Victoria, women's title matchup. Loved that matchup. Chris Jericho versus Christian on the ladder matchup. That was very good. Kane versus Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels was returned to the WWE against Kane after being injured. That was a good matchup for what it was. And then Triple H versus Randy Orton, which set up many matches between the two, and this was kind of a okay matchup for what it was. And then you had Unforgiven 2006. This was a okay pay-per-view. You had Johnny Nitro against Jeff Hardy in a good IC title matchup. DX versus Vince and Shane McMahon and Big Show in a Hell in a Cell matchup, which the wrestling was okay at best, but entertainment-wise, it was a pretty good matchup. Trish Stratus against Lita. Trish Stratus' last matchup in the WWE. This was a very good matchup. Also, Lita's last match in the WWE. Good matchup, and it was a good way to send both women out in style. Randy Orton versus Carlito. Very good matchup, and you saw the first Super RKO by Randy Orton. And then, of course, you had the John Cena versus Edge in a TLC matchup for the WWE title. Very enjoyable matchup. Highly recommend it. And then finally, Unforgiven 1999, X-Pac versus Chris Jericho. Good matchup, and it was just a sign of things to come between the two. Val Venus versus Steve Blackman. And then the six-pack challenge match for the WWE title matchup. Very good matchup, and it's one of those very underrated matchups that many people tend to not talk about, but it was a very enjoyable matchup. But yeah, those are my favorite Unforgiven pay-per-view matches. If just thought I'd give you my Unforgiven pay-per-view matchups, and then talk about the WWE changing another pay-per-view, and giving you my thoughts about that. Hope you like my video. You can rate, you can comment, you can give me a video response. And till then, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Rate, comment, and I'm